Hey, hello. Welcome back to Separator Firewall AWS Deployments online training. This is the session number 6, VPC setup and network layout. Basically, in this session we are going to go through the process to create a new VPC. You may not need to do so the, in case that you already have a AWS account and you already have created your own VPCs. But in any case, we are going to show an easy way to create a new VPC. Um, just as a refresh of some concepts that we already mentioned in one of the initial sessions, um, um, there is a series of attributes, what a VPC is and what is it for. In our case, we are going to create a VPC um, that is using a private IP addressing with mask 16 10.0.0.0, and we're going to have two subnets inside that VPC that we are going to use for one. We're going to call it like a private um, subnet, and the other one is going to be the public subnet. The private subnet is not going to have an internet gateway, but it's going to use nothing. We're going to show you how. Um, the default gateway, those numbers, those IP addresses that are on the slide, like 10.0.1.1 and 10.0.1.2, those are part of the five reserved IP addresses by AWS. You cannot use those IP addresses that are automatically assigned. So the public subnet is going to be in 10.0.0.0 slash 24, and the private subnet is going to be in 10.0.1.0 slash 24. So um, Amazon VPC lets you provision logic isolated sections of a private cloud inside AWS. You have a total control of all your networking environment, including assignment of IP addresses, subnetting, routing tables, network gateways, etc., including also not only IP version 4 addressing, but also IP version 6. Um, you're going to have tools in order to provide security and access. You can easily customize the network configuration in your Amazon Virtual Private Cloud. You have to do that in just invoking the service VPC on the dashboard. Uh, um, the the purpose of creating subnets is basically whatever you want to um, represent when you're creating a subnet. A subnet could be a public subnet that is going to have services and resources facing the internet, like a DMZ zone. You can have totally private subnets, or I mean, the design is whatever you need in terms of the topology of your, uh, let's call it virtual lab or virtual data center. Additionally, you have VPN services provided already by Amazon inside the VPC. You're going to be able to create IPsec-based VPNs uh, directly connected to your VPC, or you can even um, uh, buy or get from Amazon physical direct connection uh, with your data center, for example. Okay, so the main features and benefits of having VPCs is well, you have multiple connectivity options in terms of connecting your data center or your infrastructure, your office, etc., uh, with your virtual uh, network inside AWS. You have several options to control security. You can have all these connections made in a secure manner. It's simple to understand. Um, you can escalate, it's scalable, um, and you have the reliability of AWS. You are going to see that there are several different topologies you can build on your VPCs for different use cases. Um, you can host simple public-facing services or multi-tier applications. You can host applications that scale connected to your data center, for example, extend corporate network to the cloud. You can have disaster recovery using um, the availability zones, for example, also. Uh, there's a lot of information on the web that you can, if you want to learn more and understand better, there are some links that I included in this slide, so you can just click there and browse. Okay, so when you go to services in the Amazon AWS dashboard and you select VPC, this is the landing page for VPC. On the left side, you have several different options. You can start creating your VPC manually, and you're going to be navigating in several of these options on the left. But the beauty of this is you have a wizard, and the wizard is going to take you step by step on what you need to do in order to create a VPC. So I always prefer to use the wizard, and if I need to make some customizations later on, I can do it manually. Uh, so the only thing you're going to need to do is just click on the Start VPC wizard. Okay, the first step when you try to create a VPC using the wizard, the step number one is select the use case, and it is going to show you four different use cases. One is a single public subnet. The second one is a public and private subnets. The other is a public-private with a hardware VPN access. The other one is a private subnet only with a VPN access. So those are the four. There are several more that you can imagine, but you can start with one of these four, and then you can make it more complex. Um, for our case, our use case in the training, we're going to use the second one, the VPC with public and private subnets. And we're going to have then a public subnet, a private subnet, and a NAT instance. The NAT instance is going to be able to allow the IP telephony platform or infrastructure to be able to access the, the public network. So that NAT instance will be our separator. So we're going to have a very similar layout of the second option, and the NAT device that we are going to use is going to be the same separator. Okay. Next step is going to be to configure the VPC details. The first thing is assign the IP addressing. In this case, in this example, we are assigning 10.0.0.0/16 as the mask, and we are not using IP version 6. But if you want to IP version 6 to be assigned, then you can enable Amazon provide IP version 6 CIDR. You have to assign a name to the VPC. That name is going to be shown in all the dashboards and reports, etc. And then you have two sections here. One section when you have the two different subnets, okay? And this is because we selected the option number 2 on the wizard. One subnet is going to be 10.0.0.0 slash dash 24, and we are not assigning any preference in terms of the availability zone, but here is where you can decide a subnet where it's going to be um, allocated. Okay, so that will help in your design is a resource that you can control in order to have, let's say, some type of disaster recovery strategy. You can have one subnet in one availability zone, another subnet in another availability zone, and start just having backup resources on, on the second one. So in our case, we are not assigning, giving any preference. If you don't give any preference, it's going to be a default assigned by AWS. I think is usually the what they call the zone A. And uh, here you can specify the NAT attributes. Uh, you can leave default values there because we're going to change them later on when we assign the NAT instance has the separator. So you don't need to change any other value here. You just click on the create VPC button and that's it. Okay, now you have already created your VPC. You're gonna see the VPC. If you click on your VPCs here on the dashboard, you're gonna see the VPC that you have created. And here you have, if you right click on the VPC that you just created, you're gonna see additional options that you have to configure specific attributes of the VPC, like attributes to the DHCP server service, or DNS or DNS host names, etc., etc., etc. Okay, the next step is to uh, enable the separator as a NAT instance. So in somehow we need to explain or to tell the VPC that for the private subnet, all the default traffic, the default route will be sent to the ingate and not to the default NAT device that was created with the wizard. So NAT instance is an special instance able to provide at least nothing for devices located behind him. The typical functionality of a NATing device. In our case, the NATing as well as the firewall and flow policies, quality of service, etc. capabilities will be provided by the separator. So separator will act as the firewall and NATing and flow policies and etc. In order to define a NAT instance, you only two things are needed. One is a running instance that is NAT capable, and the second thing needed is appropriate access control list and routing rules defined on the private subnet in the VPC. So uh, point one has been partially covered in the launching separator for the AWS. I mean, the separator per se is already a firewall. You need just to enable the firewall mode. It is explained in one of the sessions. We will show additional settings needed, including the working separator, etc. We will see how I enable the firewall functionality in the separator in a session, in another session. And the point number two, configure the ACLs and the routing rules, etc., is going to be explained on the next slides. Okay, so we need to go in order to modify the routing tables and make sure that the default route is pointing to the um, ingate as the NATing device. We have to go to routing tables, to route tables here. This again, we still are on the VPC dashboard, route tables. Then we can click on the ingate private subnet. That's the one that we want to change um, the default route uh, to the ingate NATing device. If we select the route tag here, you are going to see the routing table. And you're going to find out that the default route is pointing to some NATing device that was automatically created by the wizard. And we don't need to change this. We're going to need to put here anything that refers um, to the ingate instance. Okay, so as you can see, usually what you're going to see here is an interface ENI. ENI and a number is typically an interface ID. An I and a number is typically an instance ID. But let's go to the next slide, which will explain that. If you go to your EC2 dashboard and and you point to the ingate separator instance, uh, when you click on the Ethernet 1 interface, remember that the ingate will be sitting between the private subnet and the public subnet. The public subnet will be associated to the Internet 0 interface, but the private subnet is going to be associated to the Ethernet 1 interface. So if you click on Ethernet 1, you are going to see all the attributes to the Ethernet 1 interface, and one of them is the interface ID. So you need to copy this value here, the interface ID, okay? And then you need to go to the table on the VPC dashboard, okay? And edit the routing table and change, put here the interface ID of Ethernet 1 on the separator instance. And that is going to show automatically the instance ID also. And you just select and save. And then now the routing table is saying to any device in the private subnet that the default route um, for any traffic going out to the internet will be sent to the eGate NATing device. Okay, the next step is to review the ACLs. In our case, we're going to just open the ACL to any traffic. And so what you need to do is uh, go to the network ACL option here on the security section. Then you are going to select the ACL that is associated, that has the subnet that we are um, referring to on the has the private subnet. In this case, when you create an ACL, the ACL can be associated to one or more subnets. So you select that one, and we're going to make sure that the inbound and the bound traffic rules are allowing all traffic. Okay. So that completes this session. We have learned how to create a VPC, and also in an existing VPC how to make the separator to behave like the default gateway or NAT device for the private subnet. Uh, Again, remember that you can send your questions or comments to trainingquestions@engage.com, and I hope to see you in the next session. Goodbye.